Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host for today, Sabil Sachal Hazer. Our top stories for the day are Pakistan has overcome Bangladesh in the second test of the series on the fifth day with only 5 overs remaining. Bangladesh started the day looking to play out a draw, but Pakistan managed to overcome and beat the Bangladesh team at home in what has proven to be a very important series for Pakistan, helping us climb up the test rankings. We'll be discussing more of that with our panel of experts who are joining us today. In our second story, we have news from the Ashes, where England have been dismissed for a total of 147 in their first innings, and Australia are yet to bat, and we will have more of that with our panel of experts in studio. And our final story for the day will be the UEFA Champions League. We'll be having a roundup of all the games that happened on the first of two of the last match days in the groups, but we will have particular focus on the PSG game against Club Brugge. We will be talking about Messi, as we always do when we're talking about PSG. We will be talking about Mbappe, and we will also be mentioning the two games which were to do with Manchester City and Liverpool. So those are our top stories for the day. To begin with, let me introduce our guest for the day. We are joined in studios by Mohammad Awais, cricket expert. Mohammad Awais, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good.
We also have Ali Abbas, another sports expert. How are you, Ali?
I'm good, Sabil. How are you?
Very well, thank you. All right, so let's start off with the Pakistan victory today. Massive result for Pakistan. Obviously, a much needed series. Any test games that we are able to get are very important for us. How did you find at the start of the day that Bangladesh would be able to hold out for a draw, or were you always confident of us that Pakistan would end up with the victory?
Yeah, I was more, I would say, in a shock. I was even discussing with him that the test match gets over even when you have 2 days rain going on, and even the bad day the bad light stopped the test match, and still the test match gets over. That shows how the fast cricket is going on. Unfortunately, even the test matches get over in a 2 to 3 days, I would say. Even the England match you can see on, and especially beating Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has never been an easy job for any team. Just go past time, and if you just could quote out, they beat Australia, they have beaten New Zealand, if I'm not wrong, in Bangladesh, and especially Pakistan coming up with a bang in the T20s. They performed well, especially in the test matches, I would say. I remember the first test match when it was played. Pakistan still has got some work to do on, especially on their batting again, because I know the batting has done a good job. But if you remember the first test match, when your two openers performed well, your batting totally collapsed. So we have still got some shakes, I would say, in between. In the second test match, I remember the Pakistani batsmen were fabulous, especially Azhar Ali, because he has been a lot of under scrutiny. I would say everyone has been criticizing him. He has been a superb one for Pakistan. Then he got the spin bowling option, where I remember everyone was criticizing, when I criticized your spin bowling. A guy bowls around 35-37 overs in the first test match and never gets a wicket, where the ball is turning a lot. And if you just watch this test match, the backbone we all called was the fast bowling of a Pakistani team, but the spin have done the job over here. Noman, especially the other guy, Sajid Khan, coming back into the party, taking 12 wickets in a test match. It shows that how the test match, especially even the Ashraf Patel, the way he performed. So the 10 wicket, I would say, haul is everything for the bowlers.
Ali, anything you'd like to add on to that, particularly about the spin bowlers and how they have come good, even perhaps when we were all criticizing or perhaps expecting fast bowlers to do the bulk of the work? They have come good for Pakistan. And how would you feel that they've used the pitch very well? Do you think that's something we can expect more of, or do you think they were very reliant on the pitch, giving them a lot of spin there?
Yeah, well, like you rightly mentioned in the start of the show, that how important the series was, if we're looking at the World Test Championship. And I just feel that, obviously regarding the spin, yes, the pitch always does play a role. But the thing is that in Test cricket, you always need someone to pop up with the magic when you need it the most. I mean, Shaheen Shah Afridi was just going through the top order, and then after that, the spinners were taking over. So it was a fine combination of spin bowling and fast bowling. Everyone did their part. One concern that I do have from this series, and I'm sure Awais will agree with me as well, is that we do not exactly assert ourselves in a test match when we're in a good position. I mean, the openers might do really well, score a lot of runs, but if you look at the strike rates, they might take 2 days to score runs, which maybe you should be scoring maybe 1 session or 2 sessions less. I know I'm being a bit too harsh, a bit too critical, but that is something which you expect, because after all, it is Bangladesh. And if you, I personally did not even give Bangladesh a chance, and they did prove me wrong slightly, because I did not expect them to offer any sort of resistance which they did. But I just hope that in the batting department, the likes of Azhar Ali, I mean, I had this issue with Shan Masood as well. I mean, he's a great test player, but they need to sort of just increase the strike rate a little bit, because test cricket is also evolving. I know we see teams like, I know we're going to discuss England getting all out for 147, and we do see the teams when they try to sort of increase the run rate, they can always lose wickets. But being like just looking into it, I would expect the Pakistani batsmen to sort of create a balance between getting runs quickly and making sure they don't lose a lot of wickets. So some things to maybe look into in terms of batting. Other than that, I think it was a very good performance. Great captaincy by Babar Azam.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Avais, just to add on to that, now Bangladesh obviously did very well, a lot better than perhaps people were expecting. But being Pakistan, perhaps Ali said he was being harsh there on them. We should expect better results. We are a nation that has a lot of prestige and has won World Cups, and we've done a lot in cricket. We should have the same expectations as fans of the Australian team or the English team, considering our history and how much we expect from cricket. How would you suggest, like you've mentioned, to put more pressure, to get the strike rates up? How do you think we do that, especially going in to the future as well? And we'll talk about the rankings in a bit. But how do you think we can put more pressure on teams, especially teams which are perhaps a little better than Bangladesh?
See, I mean, if you just watch the test cricket going on around the world, it's more aggressively, I would say more aggression has been into test matches. I mean, I know that grammatically your T20, T10 has changed the way of playing, even in the one days, even in the test matches. The players now, they more aggressively score runs. I mean, there's a guy in a team who actually scores runs, I would say in 60, 70 balls, he scores 100 to put more pressure on the other team opponent's fast bowlers or the spin bowling department. That's the point where I'm speaking. He rightly pointed out, see, Pakistan has got that problem. I know we have won the series. It's not the time to criticize them. But if you just overall watch, remember in the first test match when your two openers performed well, Abdullah Shafiq and the other guy, Abid Ali. But if you just look at the other team performance, I mean, they totally shattered. I mean, the problem what we have always in the test match when we are batting at the third or fourth innings, leave the Bangladesh performance. I'm talking about if you're traveling to Australia, you have got that problem where your team does not perform well. Bangladesh, again, it wasn't easy for Pakistan to win on over here because you have seen the wickets, the way they behave. I was even surprised to see in the first test match that it was getting a sharp turn. When it went to the last day, it started to be a good wicket for batting. I mean, I don't know what the wicket was. Even in the second test match, you see, it's not an easy job for, and especially if you just watch out this kind of wickets to, I would say, make trouble for the Bangladesh too, performing in the big stage matches. You can see in the World Cup what they happened on, and they don't have many resources, I would say, who can actually play for the team. The biggest thing what I saw in the Bangladesh series was that first test match you never had Saqib Al Hasan. That was a big blow for you. You had the youngsters. He comes back for the second test match. Why don't you make him play at the middle order position where he is? I mean, you need middle order position with your senior campaigners, with Mushfiqur Rahim and Saqib Al Hasan. You're trying to get that youngsters included up. That has disturbed the batting order of Bangladesh. When you remember when Bangladesh was batting against Pakistan, when I know Pakistan in the second inning started to crumble up the Bangladesh batting, but when Linton Das, Mushfiqur Rahim and Saqib Al Hasan, there was some little bit partnership, and I thought that they would go for a draw the way they were playing on. Thanks to Sajid came back to the party. But it shows that the experience is there. It's just your I would say the team combination is not there for Bangladesh who can actually win matches for them. So they are into problem. Even I was reading somewhere when they came back, when they lost the T20 series, and the coach said even that youngsters, I mean, the combination has not been working for Bangladesh. I mean, but they have been trying a lot of things, you know. In the first test match, I remember Taskeen wasn't there for them, the senior fast bowler. They got him in the second test match. So still they were trying to work out something, but it hasn't been a good one for them.
Okay. Ali, just to take that a little bit further, now we're talking about combinations. With the Test Championship, obviously this has affected our rankings now. How do you see us going in the future? What combinations do you see that could come forward? Do you stick with some of them that you saw in this series? Do you stick with some of the players who have performed? Or do you think we still need to find the right combinations if we're going to take on bigger teams such as Australia, such as England and so on?
Yeah, no major changes honestly, because we have won the series. Like how harsh can you be? Yeah, but I don't know, maybe a replacement for Azhar Ali. I'm a huge Azhar Ali fan. I really like the contribution that he has in Test cricket, but I think if you really want to see someone who can carry on the team for the next 1, 2, 3 years, leading into the Test Championship. You need a batsman who is maybe a lot more secure of his own place. And Azhar Ali, you do get a feeling that he's always in need of runs to cement his place. And I know, like, I know that should not be the case for someone who has been playing Test cricket for the last 10 or 11 years, ever since he made his debut against England back in, I don't know, 2009 or 2010. So for me, I think we need to find a replacement for Azhar Ali, and we do have a lot of players in the backup, because when it comes to Test cricket, I know our domestic circuit is not something which produces batsmen which we can just automatically fit into the T20 side because of the standards, the way T20 is evolving. But I do feel we have good batsmen when it comes to Test cricket. I mean, Abdullah Shafiq is someone who has been in and around the corner, and he's just come into the team, and how solid he has been for the team. So maybe just another batsman in place of Azhar Ali, and just to get the combination right, because I do feel that in our top order is very secure, but at times our top order is one of the factors due to which we do not convert a lot of games. I know it's a footballing term, but we do not convert a lot of games because maybe in a session or two where we need to really speed up our strike rate, we put a lot more pressure on the batsmen who are going to come in the lower order, something which we faced in the first Test match as well. I mean, the openers did a fantastic job, but when the batsmen from the lower middle order or the lower order they had to come and speed things up, they lost their wickets. So maybe a minor tweak in the top order, and I think other than that everything is fine. Yeah, Noman did not have the best of Test matches, but then again, he has had good performances in the past, so I wouldn't change up a lot.
So Ali makes some good points there about how if you've won a series, obviously you don't want to change the things that you've gotten right. But Yves, he's suggested a few minor tweaks going into it. What do you see, especially how this will affect our rankings and such? Do you think these are the minor tweaks we need, or do you still feel like coming as bigger teams will have more weaknesses exposed, or do you think because we've had a great run, obviously in ODIs and in T20, with the World Cup that just passed, but with Test cricket, do you think we're going to be exposed when we come against bigger teams, or do you think we're going to consolidate this winning run even further?
See, one thing was good, Pakistan is at the second position in the Test Championship. Sri Lanka is way up at it. And one thing is good that I remember when Ramiz Raja had a statement and he said that this is the team which actually is not going to be changed to the T20 World Cup. And this is the other team, I would say, for the Test Championship that might not be changed till the Test Championship is going on. That means this team needs to be gelled up. I mean, the players know that, okay, fine, we are going to carry on. So they have got a long run to perform. I mean, they won't have that pressure in their mind that if I don't perform, I'm going to be out of the team. So it's one more thing, Pakistan Super League even would be very important for the Pakistani players especially. Unfortunately, I know we have been criticizing that, and it is that the Pakistan Super League has been a selection criteria for all the three formats, and that does hurt to Test matches. Aga, who has been consistently performing well in the domestic structure, especially for the 4-day cricket, I would say, from past 2 to 3 years, does not get selected on that basis. He gets selected in the Pakistan Super League, so that's a little bit hurting, I would say. I hope so that thing changes on. But looking at, I mean, see, you played well against Bangladesh, you did perform, but see, when you're traveling to the conditions like where you struggle in Australia, when you struggle in the New Zealand conditions, that needs to change on. I mean, I know the T20, especially World Cup, I would speak, when you're going to travel to T20 World Cup, I know it's a good side that you have got this squad to be ready till T20 World Cup, but remember one thing, it's not the UAE or Asian conditions, it's Australia. You will have bounce, you will have pace over there, that what Pakistan struggles. Pakistan has never struggled against swing department. They have struggled against pace and bounce department, the batsmen over there. So it's really going to be important, rightly both were like mentioning on, you need to have that kind of cricketers who can actually take part in it. I mean, you need to have aggressive cricketers who can face that kind of short pitch deliveries. I mean, what Pakistan has been lacking on. So you have got time, you need to prepare for that, but the Test Championship especially, you need to be at the top table. I mean, the way Pakistan has played against Bangladesh was a superb one, and you have not got many Test matches if you just watch the Test Championship, because you got the West Indies coming up over here, you have got one day in T20s, not a Test match again. Against Australia, you do have a Test match in Pakistan, but again, Australia is not an easy side. Like you mentioned on even if they're playing in Asia, I remember in the World T20, Australia was nowhere near for anyone being a favourites to clinch the title when they started the tournament. And see, they're one of the teams who actually learn from the mistakes, who are a big match players, I would say.
They evolve during the tour. Australia always evolves.
So it won't be an easy Pakistan tour for Australia too, I would say. Pakistan will get a tough time.
So obviously, as has been mentioned, we have a lot of challenges coming up and we will be tested. But as Wes mentioned, we have this squad of players and they have to gel together if we have a chance. And hopefully they will continue to do so. Yes, we only have the PSL and selection criteria for test isn't great. But with this squad we have, let's hope they continue to develop. Now moving on to the Ashes. Ali, First thoughts, England dismissed for 147. Did we see such a low score coming in, or what are your first thoughts on that?
Anyone who has been following England in Test cricket for a while would know that this was something which was anticipated, and it's a squad which, I mean, yeah, English cricket has been rocked recently by certain allegations by a few of the players. I mean, that is pretty well documented, and it's not the best place to be in. Australian cricket has also been rocked by the allegations on Tim Payne and the fact that he had to leave the Australian side because it was hurting his mental health. So both the teams had their issues, but the English, I mean, you, like Avas was mentioning before we were having a discussion, that you see a T20 team trying to take on maybe one of the best test sides in the world, and you have a mix where you have David Malan, who's a T20 specialist, coming one down, and you have Rory Burns, someone who is well suited to facing medium pacers, trying to take on Mitchell Starc. I mean, the stance that he has, he got bowled out on the first ball, and you just see him trying to just move around in front of Mitchell Starc, who's bowling at 140 on a track where the ball is going to swing, and you're like, maybe they did not exactly plan this out really well. So I do feel that it's going to be a very difficult tour for England, and I do feel that they will have to evolve like the Australians usually do, but I see more of these scores in the future as well, because I do not see a lot of grit in the batting order. I mean, there was a funny tweet being shared that a group of men trying to imposter a test batting order have been found in Australia, so I think that is the case. They have to find their feet, and I just hope it's an interesting Ashes. Otherwise I see Australia just steamrolling them because of the confidence they have. Most of these players were a part of the T20 World Cup as well, so I see a lot more of these scores, and I just hope England do manage to get their act together.
But for me, I mean, if you just watch the scorecard, I mean, for me it was the real problem for the England team. It's Joy Root, I mean, because he's the captain, and I don't know why is he not performing well. I mean, he's the ex-captain, he's the captain for England, and I don't know why he's not performing well. I mean, he's the main, I would say, culprit for the England team, and he rightly pointed out, for me, I might be wrong, but for me, England getting bowled out over here in the Test match, it's not a new thing for me, because if you just go to 3 or 4 years back, I mean, or 5 or 6 years back, England were known more as a red ball cricketers. I mean, they have actually more produced, or they have actually worked more on the white ball cricket. They have got one of the best batting lineups or the bowling lineup in the one day and T20 around the world. But Test match has been a weakness again for the English cricketers, what they were known for. You just watch out this English batting lineup. Just leave Joy Root. I mean, Stokes hasn't been, he comes back, I know, after a long period of gap, but he hasn't been into his good colours. Burns, especially as an opening batsman, he rightly pointed up, I don't know, the stance might not be a big problem for me, but it's that when you're playing against in Brisbane, that's a quick, fast wicket, and you're facing Pat Cummins where he took 5 wickets, and Mitchell Starc, you need to be actually ready for everything. You need to be mentally, because you know the Australians do play with your mindset. You need to be mentally strong. And if you just watch out English batsmen, I mean, I don't know what they were actually trying to do. They are more into T20 flavor as compared to Test matches. You need to play a Test match over here, and you're playing in Australia. Australia would obviously play psychologically.
Okay, so just to finish up on this, your final thoughts, Wes, yourself first. We pretty much, from what you guys have said, consolidating the point that Australia are going to take the series and run away with it. England have not had the players, and then the off-field troubles that they've both had, England obviously being affected by that as well. Do you think England just have to accept that this series will just be a whitewash, and that they have to look forward and fix these issues in their test lineups for future series, and how do they go about doing that?
This is too early, I would say, that it's going to be a whitewash. I mean, I know the one innings was a bad one for you, but cricket is a funny game again. See what happened, remember, in New Zealand and India match. New Zealand, Patel gets 10 wickets, and rest when New Zealand comes to bat on, even New Zealand gets exposed against India. So cricket is a funny game, you know. I mean, whatever can happen on when you're playing against Australia good side. I mean, they would obviously give you a tough time, but England can be a strong side, but it's just that getting a test team into right position.
So you think even currently they can still make the adjustments needed within this series?
I can.
Within this game even?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's just that coming back into the test match form. You need to forget about T20. You need to be in a test match, what the English were known for. And especially Joy Root needs to be back into the form.
Right. And Ali, would you like to agree with that?
The English will not agree with me, but it's going to be a shambolic action.
So Ali definitely thinks that England will not be able to recover their form, and West does. Let's see.
I hope they do. I hope they do, because I want to enjoy the Ashes.
But time will tell all. Well, we're going to take a short break just now, but please join us afterwards. We will be discussing the UEFA Champions League.
passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us. We now move on to the UEFA Champions League. Our first game, which we will be discussing, will be the game between PSG and Club Brugge, where PSG obviously dominated as was expected. Messi getting on the score sheet, which now in the Champions League at least is not surprising at all, even for Paris Saint-Germain. And Club Brugge were never really in with a chance to begin with, nor was anybody expecting them to win. We're still joined by Ali Abbas in studios. Ali, Messi obviously is starting to replicate his older form in the league. He got 3 assists a week or so ago, was it? And he has started picking up in the French league. But in the Champions League, he has been performing for PSG. Another goal here. I think he has 5 goals in total in the Champions League for them now. They've brought him in, let's be realistic, to win the Champions League. They haven't brought him in to win the French league. Do you think he will be able to take them further? Then he'll definitely get them past the round of 16, but do you think he'll be able to get them the semis or finals and maybe even win it for them? Or do you think right now they're still not good enough defensively to do that?
I mean, you put it perfectly that the reason they even bought Leo Messi at the age of 34 was because they wanted to win the Champions League and they want to win it now. They don't want to win it after 3 or 4 years. He's not a part of the project that maybe Neymar or Mbappe were when they were signed for a huge transfer fee. But no, I do not see him taking them forward, because you can only have one Leo Messi in the team, just like you can only have one Cristiano Ronaldo in the team. If you have players like Mbappe who are 22 or 23 and who refuse to track back, who refuse to help out the defenders, and you have Neymar who maybe is just walking around the pitch when he does not have the ball, when you have 3 players who are doing a pretty similar role, then I do not expect, because you win Champions Leagues as a team. You win it as a team. I mean, the Jose Mourinho team that when he won it with Porto, that was a really average squad, but they got through. So I do not see PSG as a team. In terms of Messi's individual brilliance and quality, no one comes close to that. But no, I mean, that man alone cannot take him to the final, because the other players around him need to sort of just adjust slightly to Leo Messi, which they're refusing to do so, because Neymar is, I know like we're trying to get into their heads, but Neymar is a huge star when it comes to him, but he considers himself, I mean, he's won a World Cup, Messi hasn't won a World Cup. You talk about, Mbappe,
Neymar,
Neymar's won the Olympics. He's won the Olympics. So you talk about Neymar, he has his own Olympic gold medal and he
So-
considers himself a star.
So the
as well.
argument there would be you can only carry one super, no matter how big the superstars are. In a team of 11, you only have room for one of them.
You only have-
so if,
and only Leo Messi can be accommodated there.
out of the three, you would
Out of
accommodate
the-
the greatest player of all
Maybe,
time.
or because you know that he's going to come up with a moment that is going to be unlike anything you see on the pitch. So yeah.
So with even Ramos coming back into the team and such, and him picking up form, maybe hopefully in the new year he gets games and he manages to get in and keep his form. You don't think that'll affect much? You still think they will disappoint in the Champions League?
I will. I mean, it's not exactly down to Ramos or Leo Messi. I mean, those players have proved themselves over the last 10
Is it
to
the lack
15
of a
years.
system?
It is the lack of a system, and I think a lack of leadership as well. I do feel that Pochettino does not have a lot of control of his dressing room because of the names that he has over there. I mean, it's a difficult task. I mean, Thomas Tuchel, he got PSG to the final, but he was struggling with PSG as well. And look what an amazing job he is doing with Chelsea. So PSG has become this brand where they have a lot of stars, and I do feel amongst those stars, Leo Messi is going to take responsibility. Ramos is, but I do not feel that Mbappe or Neymar are at that level yet. I do feel they are a little bit complacent in terms of where they are at the moment. And when you have players who do not really feel they have something to prove in terms of putting in the extra effort when off the ball, and only rely on goals or skills when they have the ball, then you have an issue going on. And obviously, it's not something you can address because it's not easy taking on Mbappe or Neymar at the moment.
100%. You've
So-
also brought them into PSG.
You
and
did.
his-
I mean,
they are
for the
superstars.
brand, the market value. They're contributing in different ways that they know they are contributing in. So it's going to be an issue.
So again, we've spoken about this show on the show a lot, that you need to have a playing style to win the Champions League, and you can't.
would know more about that.
but yes. So another game from this group. Obviously, the PSG game was also academic because
Yeah.
they had gone through. They were going to be second and at least second, and Club Brugge were out. Another game, Leipzig obviously losing to beating Manchester
Beating
City.
Manchester City.
Beating Manchester City with PSG winning. That also became academic because. They can't catch up. They've finished the group with 7 points. What do you think went wrong for Man City? Obviously, it didn't really count for much. They had gone through anyway. But the red card for Kyle Walker, very experienced player, should not be happening. And now he has to face a suspension in a game where it was inconsequential. Do you think they maybe should have just gone with the serious lineup and tried getting the win? Or do you think that this was just a game where they weren't too bothered, and then obviously Kyle Walker's let them down as a senior player?
I mean, you know better than anyone else how hectic the festive period is for English
For
football.
English teams, yes.
And I'm sure Pep Guardiola had that in mind because he is now in a 3-horse title race with Liverpool and Chelsea, and everyone is going to rest their players. So I do not blame them, but yeah, Kyle Walker getting a red card now, which means he is going to miss the round of 16 match in the Champions League. So that has not done Manchester City any good because they do rely on Kyle Walker. I mean, despite his age, he is still maybe the quickest defender or right back in the Premier League at the moment. So it is a huge loss. But yeah, I mean, I do not blame Pep Guardiola for not taking it seriously because he has a lot of fixtures coming up, and City do have a few difficult fixtures as well over the next month or so. So it's going to be a difficult period for them. So I'm sure they were not going to take it seriously. But yeah, losing Kyle Walker for the round of 16 is something which they could have avoided. Maybe he definitely would have thought he should not even have played him in the game. But now, obviously, I mean, Man City is a strong enough team to cope with this, and Pep Guardiola is a good enough manager to come out of this. But it's something which they will take away with a bad taste because it was a difficult group stage. They beat PSG. They managed to get through before the last game. So overall, it was a good performance. But yeah, something that they could have avoided. But it did become academic, and then again, when you have such a tough fixture list coming up and you do not have English football accommodating you, the only thing you can do is sort of just go easy on the Champions League because City can do without the 2 or 3 million pounds that they would have gotten had they won the game. I'm sure they could have done without that. It won't be a huge loss for them.
So now Leipzig are obviously going to go into the Europa League. They finished third in the group. Another team who's joining them is Dortmund, because obviously they've had a very poor Champions League. Do you think, obviously, this isn't what they wanted? They would rather go to the later stages of the Champions League. But are these two the favourites now in the Europa League, do you think? Is it Dortmund? Do you think Leipzig will also have a chance there?
Porto.
You think Porto?
Yeah, I think Porto.
So let's move
Pepe
on to
and
that
the
group.
boys.
So let's
Pepe and
actually
the
move
boys,
on to that group, because obviously Porto are now, this group has been amazing to watch. Liverpool, Atletico, Porto, Milan. Liverpool, let's talk about them first. They beat Milan. Metro Milan finished bottom of the group. They're the first English side to win all 6 of their Champions League games.
Yes.
What do we make of them, and what do you also think it is for Milan, and what it means for Serie A to have one of their teams literally bottom of the group?
I know. I mean, for AC Milan, before the start of the final match week, They were firmly placed second, and all they had to do was win. And why I'm saying is all they had to do was win, because Liverpool were not playing any of the members of the starting 11 other than Salah and Mane. But then you're a good enough team to compete, but they just gave it away. And I think it says a lot about Liverpool in terms of their squad depth, because that is an issue that they had last season when they lost 3 to 4 defenders and a few attackers. They were exposed, and then they were relying on the likes of Nat Phillips, who in fact had a great game yesterday, and Reece Williams in defense to basically get them to the top 4 again. So Liverpool as a squad shows that they have a lot of squad depth, and they have a squad by which they can take on other teams in the Champions League and the Premier League. For Milan, it's really sad because they had played some really good football. Even when they came over to Anfield, they really took on Liverpool. And I think in the group of death, when you have Atletico Madrid, you have Porto, you have Milan, you have Liverpool, then there are certain results or certain standings which you can argue, but then again it happens because it was such a difficult group. But not even competing in Europe this season, from being in a position where they were almost going to qualify for the Champions League, is going to be tough for them to take. But then again, you have to learn from it, and you have to evolve as a team. I mean, Italian football overall, when it comes to the Champions League, has not been the best, other than Juventus, who are now struggling as well. So maybe it's time for maybe this is it's just, I just hope it's one step forward for Italian football, and then they can just come back again and compete again, because we want to see the likes of Inter Milan, AC Milan. I mean, the history that the San Siro has, we want to see that again, because it's a really important part of football that we both saw when we were growing up. So I just hope it's a step forward for them.
Okay, so we've spoken about those two teams. Let's speak about where the real drama in the group was, which was Atletico and Porto, because obviously Atletico, to get through second place, needed to win. They won. Some game, 3 red cards, goals, penalties, had everything. What do you make of that?
Oh wow, I mean, it was, well, it's, the strange thing is that when you have a team which is being captained by Pepe, and they feel that they've been outdone in the dark arts by a team that they're playing against. I mean,
but surely Diego Simeone,
it's only Diego Simeone who could have beaten him on that. So I mean, Atletico Madrid, where they were placed, I did not expect them to go through. And for Porto, I do feel bad, and the reason why I'm mentioning them as favourites for the Europa League, because after the end of the game, once they did lose to Atletico Madrid, I saw all of the players get together. They got together in a huddle. They were having a discussion. So for them, it was, they did take it as a blow, but I do feel they're going to go really far in the Europa League, because if you look at all of their games, like even the games against Liverpool, they were really, really competitive. And the thing about playing against a team like Liverpool nowadays is that you make one mistake, like Tomori made a mistake yesterday, and you are going to get hit for a goal. So I think Porto played some really good football. They were just outdone by the experience of the other teams. I mean, Atletico Madrid being led by Diego Simeone, who they've been in 2 Champions League finals over the last 10 years. They've won the Spanish league last year. So I think it was just the experience which sort of outdid them. I mean, yes, they do have Pepe at the helm, but he's 38 now, so you do not exactly expect him to take the game by the scruff of the neck. So I think they're going to take it as a blow, and when it comes to the Europa League, Porto are going to be a very dangerous side, and every team is going to want to avoid them, because they have a fine blend of dynamic players and players who can just sort of hold their ground like Pepe. So I think they're going to be a very dangerous outfit.
So that's really interesting, because obviously Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone are fighters. If anybody's going to fight against the odds and qualify, it was going to be them, and Porto had a challenge. Now in the Europa League, obviously not as glamorous as the Champions League, but you've mentioned Porto and people will want to watch out for them. Do Leipzig and Dortmund not also have a point to prove in the Europa League, and will Dortmund especially not be dangerous with the players they have? Or do you think Porto will take it as seriously as the Champions League, which maybe the other 2 clubs won't?
Well, in Leipzig do not have history behind them. I mean, when it comes to, there's a certain pedigree that you need when it comes to European competitions, which is why Liverpool won 2 Champions League titles in those 30 years when they did not win the Premier League. So I think it has a lot more to do with the sort of history that you have, and I think Porto have that. Dortmund some have that as well. I mean, they won the Champions League in the 90s, and they played a final under Klopp as well. But I don't see Leipzig having that, because something that Man City faces as well. You do not exactly see the entire city or the entire town, just get together for a Champions League game at Man City, the way
because
you were saying,
a commercial team more so
like
than,
City. I mean, I know City fans would not like us saying that, but they're quite commercial as well. So, which is why Pep Guardiola had to come out and had to ask the fans to attend the game.
Always rely on Ali Abbas for a stereotype.
So they are slightly commercial, and I don't know. There's a lot more heart when it comes to Porto, and that is why they are going to be my favorites for the Europa League. I mean, just look at Sevilla. never did well in the Spanish league, but won 3 Europa Leagues in a row. So I think when it comes to European football, that is the beauty of European football, that there is something more than just good quality, good players on the pitch. Because okay, fine, in a marathon, in a league, you can just take on other teams, and if you have better players, you'll win. But when it comes to European football, those small moments, which sometimes can be because of the fans behind you, or the inexperience of a player, or anything can basically decide who's going to win the Champions League or the Europa League. And I think Porto have a better chance.
Ali Abbas, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And all of you at home, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on Sports Extra. I have been your host, Sabeel Hazer. It has been a pleasure, and goodbye.